Welcome to the Math Record. Today I'll be covering the ICTM State 2016 Division A Algebra 1. I'll be going through every single question from 1 to 20 as I did before for the other videos, and I'll be putting timestamps in the description also. Okay, number 1. Let k minus 1 equals 5k plus 3k minus 8. Determine the value of k. So simple arithmetic, so 8k minus 8, so that's a 7k, that's a 7, so k equals 1. And that's your answer for number 1. Okay, number 2. Let x divided by y is equal to 2/3 and z divided by y is equal to 5/4. Determine the value of x divided by z. So x divided by z is just equal to x divided by y times y over z, right? So it's just so then the y's cancel out and this x divided by z. So we know what xy is. That is 2/3. And y divided by z, well, that's just the reciprocal of this term. So reciprocal of that is just 4 or 5. So then multiplying them together, that is 8 over 15. 15. And that is your answer for number 2. Number 3. A ball is launched into the air 5 feet above the ground with a velocity of 16 feet per second as the function h of t, okay, h of t is equal to negative 16t squared plus 64t plus 5. At t seconds. Determine the exact value of t when it reaches the maximum height. Okay, so this is a parabola. So if the maximum value that a parabola has is always gonna be at the whatever that variable is, which is t, at negative b over 2a. So your b is your second term and your a is your first term. So negative 64 over 2 times negative 16. So that's 32. So negative 64. That's bad. Sorry about that. Negative 64 divided by negative 32. That's just 2. So it happens at 2 seconds. And that's your answer for 3. Number 4. A car is sold by Mr. Green to Bob at 10% loss. Okay, so let's say the car was originally bought by Mr. Green for X amount, right? So if he lost 10%, that means he sold it at 0.9 of the price, right? Because then he lost 10%, because 10% of this is 0.1 times this. So if you lost that much, that means the amount that he got is 1.9x. Okay, that means and then the following week, Bob sells the car back to Mr. Green for a 10% gain. So from this price, Bob sold back to Mr. Green the car, and he got a 10%. So 10% of this is 0.9 times 0.1 is 0.09, right? So he made this much. So that much with this amount. So 0.09 plus 0.9 is 0.99. So 0.99x, right? And then the result of this transaction is a k% change in price for Mr. Green. Okay, so we have Mr. Green and Bob, right? So Mr. Green first bought it at X amount, and then he sold it to Mr. Bob for 0.9, and then he sold this one back to get 0.9x, right? So for Mr. Green, right? How much did he change? Well, he lost 0.01x. So that is a negative 1%. So you don't have to write the percentage, so it's just negative 1. So that's your answer for number 4. Okay, just a lot. I spent a little bit more time on this so we could logic our way through it. Okay, number 5. A boat can travel a distance of 2 miles from point A to B. So, okay, so let's have 2 points. So let's call this point A, and this point is B. 2 miles, so it's a 2-mile distance. And against the current in 1 hour. So if he's going this way, so he's going against the current, and that is in 1 hour. So let's say the boat speed is B and the water speed is W. Okay, and he took 1 hour, so that's 60 minutes. Usually when you see hours, you want to convert it always to minutes or seconds. Okay, and can travel the 2 miles back from point B to A, so from B to A, on with the current. So it's with the current, so it's boat plus the water speed is equal to 30 minutes, right? Because this is gotta be because these two are gonna be the overall speed. Because if you're going against the current, it's going slower. That's why we're subtracting the water. So if we're going with the current, we're going faster, right? Because it's gonna be your boat speed plus the water speed, so it's going faster. So okay, so now we have the boat speed minus the water speed times the time it takes, which is 60 minutes, is equal to 2 miles. Well, we just write 2. And then we have the boat speed plus the water speed times 30 minutes is equal to 2 also. Okay, so distributing that out, that's 60W minus 60B minus 60W is equal to 2. And let's multiply this by 2 and then multiply that out. So that's 60, so 60 times B is 60B, and then 60 plus W plus 60W. And then you have to multiply 2 to the side, so this is 4. Right, I just distribute it out and then multiply by 2. So then now we can add each other up, add these two equations up, and then we should get 120b is equal to 6. That means b is equal to 1 over 20. So that is in units 1 mile per 20 minutes, right? So determine the speed of the boat in still water measured in miles per hour. So miles per hour, this is minutes, right? So we gotta get to hours. So 60 minutes is 1 hour. So we just need to multiply. So 60 divided by 20 is 3. So 3 times 1 is 3. So that is our speed. Okay, and that's for number 5. Number 6. F of x is equal to x squared plus 25x minus 4. Okay, that looks bad. Sorry. Determine the value of y when y is equal to f of x plus 12 minus y, and x is equal to 4. So we just use our calculator and plug everything in so we don't have to make any mistakes. So 4 squared plus 25 times 4 minus 4 is 112. And then you plug in 112 into the equation again. So 112 squared plus 25 times 112 minus 4, and then plus 12. And you should get a y is equal to 15352 minus y. So then add this y to this side. So this cancels out and it becomes 2y. So divide by 2. And you should get 7676. 7,676 as your answer. Okay, just use your calculator. Number 7. Tommy rides his bike from Allister to Baker at an average speed of 8 miles per hour. Okay, so let's say Allister to Baker, so A to B. And it was so we don't know what the distance is. Let's say the distance is X. And he had 8 miles per hour. Okay, and then on the return trip, okay, so from B to A, Tommy has the wind on his back and rides the average speed of X miles per hour. So he traveled X amount of distance in 10 miles per hour. Determine Tommy's average speed. So the average speed is always going to be the total distance divided by the total time. So the total distance is X plus X, so that's 2X. And then the average time, so it would just be the distance divided by our rate. So X divided by 8, and for this one is X divided by 10. Right? Because the time to go from A to B and the time to go from B to A. And now we gotta write that as 2x. And then take out the variable x. So that becomes 1/8 plus 1/10. So the x cancel each other out and just use your calculator for this. So 1/8 plus 1/10, and then 2 divided by that number, and you should get 80 over 9. Or you could just do the math if you want to by hand, which is just 2 over, and then that's 10, that's 8, so that's 18 over 80. Reciprocal, so 280 over 18. Cancel out the 2, so that's 9. So 80 over 9. So it's it's the exact same answer both ways. Number 8. Determine the value of x such that the radical, the square root of 3x minus 17 is equal to, minus the radical, square root of 21. X plus 21 is equal to 0. So then move it to the other side. So 3x minus 17 is square root of x plus 21. And then square both sides. So 3x minus 17 is x plus 21. So that's 2x, that is 38. So x equals 19. And that's your answer for number 8. Okay. Number 9. Line L has a, okay, so line L has a equation of 3 minus 4y equals 3x minus 4y equals 27. And line M has an equation of 4x plus 5y is equal to 20. And line N is perpendicular to L. So it's perpendicular. All you need to do is that you switch these two numbers. So it's going to be 4x, and this one's going to be 3y. And then you're going to switch this sign. So if this is a negative, you're going to make it positive. So then it's equal to some kind of number. So we need to find a point. So it passes through the y-intercept of M. So y-intercept of M is 0 and x, and then some value for y. So if this is 0, that means x is 4. I mean, y is 4. So if this is 0 and this is 4, that makes this one 12, right? Because 4 times 0 is 0, plus 3 times 4 is 12. Okay. So then line N has a general equation of ax plus by plus c. So we got to rewrite it as 4x plus 3y minus 12 is equal to 0. So they're all relatively prime, and a is bigger than 0 is positive. So add them together. So that's 7 minus 12, negative 5. And that's your answer for number 9. Number 10. A rectangle has adjacent sides with lengths 3x minus 1 and 2x plus 3. So we could draw a picture. Usually for geometry, I like to draw pictures. So 3x minus 1. It doesn't have to be really precise, just like draw it decent enough for you to get a general idea. And then the area is 21. Okay, so that multiplies together 6x squared plus 9x minus 2x, so plus 7x. And then minus 3 is equal to 21. So 6x squared plus 7x minus 24 is equal to 0. So 6 can only be 1 times 6 or 3 times 2. So usually I'm just going to use the numbers that are not like what makes up that number, so 6. If it's like 5 or some, if it's like 4, I'm not going to use 1 and 4, I'm going to use 2 and 2. So usually it's numbers like these, equals 0. Okay, so 3 and 2. So 24, let's try 3 and 8. Okay, so 24, 6, nope. So let's switch that. So let's say 9 and 16. Okay, that works. So since we need to make a positive 7, that's the negative right here because that's smaller, and then plus 8. So that's plus 16 minus 9 and then plus 7. Perfect. So x equals 3 over 2 because this is going to be negative, so this is not possible. So for number 10, we'll have to find the numerical perimeter for the rectangle. So the perimeter is length times width times 2. So that's 5x plus 2 times 2, 14x plus 4. And then plug your x in. So that will be 5 times 3 over 2, which is 5 times 3, which is 15. 15 plus 4 is 19. So that's your answer for number 10. Number 11. Let 3x plus y equals 81, which is just 3 to the power 4. And 81, which is 3 to the power 4, times x minus y is equal to 3 to the power 1. Determine the value of 16x plus 8y. Okay, so using this, that means x plus y is equal to 4. And using this, that means x minus y, 1 divided by 4 is 1/4. So to get our x, just add them together, so 2x. That's 16 over 4, so plus 1 over 4 is 17 over 4. So x equals 17 over 8. Okay, so plug it back in to get our y. So then this is 16 over 4. Actually, that's 32 over 8, right? Because we want the same denominator. So that's going to be 15 over 8. Okay. So 16 times 17 over 8. So the 16 divided by 8 is 2. So 2 times 17 is 34. And 8 times 15 over 8 is 15. So add that together. That is 49 for your answer for number 11. Number 12. Let a be greater than 0 and a squared times x fourth plus 1 is equal to ax squared plus bx plus 1 and ax squared minus bx plus 1. Sorry about that, it's kind of running out of room. And then find the values of b as an expression of a. Okay, so a squared, x squared, I mean x fourth, plus 1. So x ax squared times ax squared is a squared x fourth. And then ax squared times negative bx cancel out with this and this. So these two cancel out when you multiply them out. And then this times this, and then this times this. So ax squared times 1 and 1 times ax squared. So that's, add them together is 2ax squared, right? So you'll get better at this once you kind of learn the trick to do it. I'm just doing a really fast way. And then the negative b squared x squared, right? So bx times negative bx is a negative b squared x squared. And then this one and this one cancel each other out because they're opposite signs. And then you have a plus 1. Okay, so let's cross out some terms. So this and this cancel out, this and this cancel out. So that gives us that 0 is equal to 2ax squared minus b squared x squared. Distributing out your x squared, that's 2a minus bx, right? So then for this equation to be equal to 0, either x is equal to 0 or 2a minus b squared is equal to 0, and 2a equals b squared. That means taking the square root, 2a equals b. But remember, since this is a quadratic originally and not a radical, you gotta put a plus or minus in front. And that's your answer for number 12. Uh, Square root 2a and negative square root 2a. But you could just put plus or minus like this. Okay, number 13. Leona has flipped a fair coin n times, getting heads on exactly 50%. So since it says exactly 50%, that means n has to be equal to is an even number. Because if it's odd, it's gonna fall short from 50% because it's not possible to get like exactly 50% when you have like if you flip a coin 3 times, you get like 1.5 heads because you can't get half a head. If she tosses 50 consecutive coins after the end toss, she falls short of raising the percentage to 60%. Okay, so she got a 50% on heads for the n times, so 1/2 n. And then the bottom is the total, which is n. And then she got 50 more heads, and then that's our 50 tosses. And that is falls short from getting to 60%. So it's less than, because fall short, less than 60%, which is 3 over 5. So it's cross multiplying, so 5 over 2n plus 250 is less than 3n plus 150. So 3n minus 5 over 2n is 1/2 n. And then 250 minus 150 is 100. So then multiply by 2, 200. So n is greater than 200. So since n has to be even, remember, that means n has to be 202. That's the smallest possible even. Okay. Number 14. Let x times x minus k equals k plus 1. Determine the sum of all possible values of x expressed in terms of k, so the equation is true. Okay, so distributing that out, so that's x squared minus kx. And then let's move k to the other side, so minus k. And then minus the 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so if we put these two together, so x squared minus 1, and then minus k, and then minus kx minus k equals 0. Right, I put these together because the k seems to go together. So then since there are 4 terms, that means this one has to go with this one. Right? So then x squared minus 1, that could be factored out as x plus 1 and x minus 1. And then negative kx minus k, you can only factor out a negative k, so minus k. So x plus 1 is equal to 0. So that means these two are linked and these two are linked now. So then we could put them together as x plus 1 and then x minus 1 and then minus the k is equal to 0. So then for this equation to equal 0, that means x plus 1 has to equal to 0. That means x has to be equal to negative 1. Or x minus 1 minus k is equal to 0. So that gives us that x is equal to k plus 1. So those are our two possible, negative 1 and k plus 1. So adding those together, because we need the sum of all possible values of x, so that's k. Negative 1, cancel out this 1, right? So there's only k left. And that's your answer for number 14. Number 15, a rectangular pool with dimensions 24 by 30. So 24 by 30. Let's draw it inside. 24 by 30. Is surrounded by a deck that has a uniform width on each side. Okay, so we have some kind of deck that looks something like this, right? So it surrounds it. and it's all the same distance. We'll call it x. Okay. So the combined area of the pool and the deck is 1,080 square feet. Determine the width of the deck. So we need to find x. So that means x and x here and x over here. So x plus 20 plus your 30. So 2x plus 30. And then x plus x, that's 2x plus this 24, right? That's total width and then total height. Multiply them together and they should get your area, which is 1080. Right? Since they're all divisible by 2, let's just divide by 2 here, divide by 2 here. That means we need to divide by 4 here. So x plus 15, then x plus 12. So divide by 4. That is, using your calculator, 1080 divided by 4 is 270. So factoring this out, that's x squared plus 15 plus 12 is 27, x. And then 15 times 12 is 180. Minus 270 is minus 90, 0. Okay, so that means it's x plus 30 and x minus 3, right? Because 30 minus 3 is 27, and 30 times negative 3 is negative 90. So that means x can't be negative, so x has to equal to 3. And that's your answer for number 5. I mean for number 15, sorry. Okay, number 16. Let the absolute value of x over 3 plus 2, close absolute value, is less than or equal to 7. Determine the number of integral replacements for x, so this is true. So integral means x can only be integers. So how many integer values can we put in here? So so since it's less than or equal to 7, that means it's actually going to be negative 7 x plus 3 plus 2 less than or equal to 7, right? So basically, by this idea, all you have to do is kind of just equal it to 7 so you can find the upper and lower bound. So x over 3 plus 2 equal to negative 7, and x over 3 plus 2 is equal to 7, because it goes from negative 7 to 7. So that means x over 3 equals to negative 9. That means x equals to negative 27. So x over 3 here will equal to 5, and x equals 15. So we could go from negative 27 to 15. So there's um, there's 27 negative numbers because from 1 to 27, all negatives. And then from 1 to 15, that's 15 positives. And then remember, there's a 0 in between, right? So negative 27, negative 26, negative 25, etc., all the way to 1, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 15, right? 0 is not positive or negative, so you got to add 1 in there. Okay. So then adding this together, so that's 42 plus 1 is 43. So your answer for number 16 is 43. Okay, number 17. Henrik has 40 coins consisting of pennies, nickels, and dimes. So that's equal to 40, right? Pennies plus nickels plus dimes, so the amount. And then the total value is $101.65. So a penny is 1 cent, a nickel is 5 cents, and a dime is 10 cents. And that should equal to 165 cents. Right? It's not 1.65 because we're setting this as equal to cents, not to dollars. Let k be the number of pennies has in the bank. Determine the sum of all value k. Okay, so let's multiply this by the first equation by negative, and then add it to the second one. So the p cancels out, and then that's going to be 4n minus 9d is equal to 125. So let's make a table. So pennies, nickels, and dimes. So they're asking for the sum of all possible values of k. So how many, k is the number of pennies. So find all possible values of p. Okay, so let's, since we have this equation, let's plug in some numbers. Actually, this one's plus 90. Sorry about that. So if n is equal to 1, that's 125 minus 4, which is 121 divided by 9. That's a decimal, so it doesn't work. So let's say n is equal to 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. 125 minus 8 divided by 9 is 13. Okay, so we could put 2 and 13 in here. Okay. So the trick with working with tables like this, when you have this kind of equation, like two variables, and then it works with these random numbers, all you need to do is that this number is actually how much is going to change here, and this number is how much is going to change here. So let's use 4 here. So minus 4, that's 9. Minus 4 here, that is 5. Minus 4 here, that's 1. Okay, so it can only go 4 times. So we add 9 here, that's 11. Add 9 here, that's 20. And add 9 here, that's 29. Okay, so since we know this is 40, that's 15. So this one has to be 25. If this is 20, that means to add up to 40, that's 20. So that's 25, so this is 15. So that's 30, that means this is 10. So add them all together, that's 45, that's 60, and that's plus 10, 70. And that is your answer for number 17. Number 18. Let let A divided by B equals 4 over 3, and let C divided by D equals 9 over 14. Determine the value of 3AC minus BD over 4BD minus 7AC. Okay, so since we have 4 variables, all we could do is simplify to 2. So then we could just get rid of some of the variables out. So 3AC, let's keep A and C. So then minus BD. So actually, let's rewrite these equations first. Let's cross multiply. So 3A equals 4B. And 14C equals 9D. Oops, sorry. 9D. So 3AC minus 4, minus B times D. So our B is 3/4 of A, and our D is 14 over 9C, right? So now we have A and we have a C. And then we have 4BD, so our B is again 3 over 4A, and our D is 14 over 9C, and then minus 7AC. Okay, so we could divide AC from every single one, right, because they're common. And now we just have 3 minus 3/4 times 14 over 9 over 4 times 3/4 times 14 over 9 minus 7. Okay, so simplifying the top. So 3 times 14 divided by 9 divided by 4. And then 3 minus that number. We get 11 over 16. 11 over 6. Sorry about that. Divide by. 4 times 3/4 times 14 over 9. That's 14 over 3 minus 7, which is negative 7 over 3. So dividing by a fraction is multiplying by its reciprocal, so times negative 3 over 7. Cancel out the 3, so that's a 2. So that's negative 11 over 14. And that is your answer for number 18. Number 19. Will wants to make sure he has at least a 90% average on his 4 tests this term where each test counts the same. So far, he scores grades of 91, 96, and 86, and he wants to get a 90% average. So then he needs one more score, right? Because they said there was 4. So the least score he could achieve on the last test is K%. Determine the value of K. Okay, so the average is just 91 plus 96 plus 86 plus the total amount of points together divided by 4 because there's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's equal to 90. So x is equal to, using your calculator, so 90 times 4 minus 91 minus 96 minus 86, and you should get an 87 as your answer for number 19. Okay, number 20. Pipe P can fill an empty tank in 5 hours. Pipe Q working alone can fill the same exact tank in 2 hours less than it takes drain pipe R to empty tank working alone. With all 3 pipes open, it takes 3 hours to fill the empty tank. Determine the time it would take to drain for pipe R to empty alone. Okay. Sorry that I keep reading like that. I just kind of skip words around to speed up the process. So pipe P. So let's say the tank empties 1 tank in 5 hours, right? And then for Q, it fills up 1 tank in 5 hours. And then for pipe Q and R, right? There's an R in here. And then pipe Q working alone can fill the exact same tank in 2 hours less than it takes pipe R to fill the full tank working alone. So since it's draining it, that means it takes away 1 tank. And let's call it X, like X hours. Because they said, it didn't give us a number. it just says for Q that's 2 hours less. So that one is 1 tank in 2 hours less than X, so X minus 2 hours. Okay, and then with all three pipes open, so P plus Q plus R, so those are the rates, right? P, Q, and R, so these are rates, times the time. So rates times time is equal to the total amount. So our time is 3 hours times 3 is equal to one full empty tank, right? Or you could just say 1, so we do easier. So we don't have to write all the variables down. I mean, the units of variables. Determine the time for R. So we have to find R, so the time is X. So we have to find X. Okay, so P, Q, and R, let's substitute them all in. So that's 1 over 5. That's 1 over X minus 2. And this is minus 1 over X. And then times all divide times 3, or you just have 1 divided by 3. Okay, so 1 over X minus 1 over X. 1/3 minus 1/5. This is 5 over 15, and this is 3 over 15, so this one's 2 over 15. So so you multiply this by x and multiply this by x minus 2. So then this is going to be simplified to x minus a x and then plus minus a negative 2. So that's a plus 2 on top because the x cancel each other out. And then we have x times x minus 2 on the bottom equals 2 over 15. Right, so since there's already a 2 here, that means this bottom part has to equal 15. So x squared minus 2x equals 15 or equals 15, or you could just say minus 15 equals 0. So that means x minus 5 and x plus 3, right? Because that's negative 15, and then add them together is negative 2. So since x cannot be equal to a negative, that means x is be positive, so x equals 5. And that is your answer for number 20. Okay. So generally, it doesn't really take that long. Some questions you just want to use for calculate. Just use your calculator, like number 19, right? And then some takes like a little bit of trial and error, like 17. And then and most of these just take a variable manipulations, like 20, 18, and like 15, and somewhat a 16, which is just a basic absolute value question. And then number 14 is also a variable manipulation, and 12, and then learn some basics like your radicals and your exponentials, and know basic formulas like area, surface area, volume, and then lines, points, and basically averages and percents, averages, and decimals, right? And then learn basic like solving linear equations, which is basically everything we do, and quadratics or cubics. Well, thanks for watching. I hope the video was helpful, and I'll see you at the next math record.